What's up, guys? Welcome to a Forensic Friday, where I tell you one true crime case that was solved using forensic science, all while doing, that's right, my makeup. Today's video will be featuring the new Urban Myth palette by Black Moon Cosmetics. That spaceship mirror is like, wow. Wow, I am obsessed. Please read the disclaimer. I am in no way a makeup artist, beauty guru, MUA, or professional makeup anything. I am just the average girl at home like you, playing in makeup and talking about true crime. If you love true crime and makeup, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my future episodes. This all takes place in Manchester, Connecticut, where Gail and Doug Isleb, I think that's how you pronounce their names, Isleb. Gail and Doug Isleb lived together. Manchester, Connecticut was a population at that time about 58,000 people. Gail and Doug Isleb were married for just a little over 3 years, and they each had one child from a previous marriage. Sounds like my parents. People described Gail as a very loving, motherly, nurturing type. Everyone knew her as grandma because she was just so loving and kind of took that role on with everyone. But in the spring of 1996, her family noticed that Gail had started to behave very, very suspiciously, and her daughter was the first to really notice this behavior. Gail's daughter actually noticed that she was behaving really, really suspiciously when she saw her hanging sheets from her bedroom window. So naturally, she asked her mom, like, "Mom, what are you doing? Why are you hanging bedroom sheets from your window?" I would ask my mom the same thing if I saw that. It's very weird. And Gail responded to that with, "Well, you never know who could be out there looking in your windows." That's really odd. Why would she say that? And on a separate occasion, Gail refused to let her daughter take her car. It was one day when Gail's car was blocking her daughter's car, and so her daughter was like, let me just take your car. And she goes, "Oh, no. Don't take my car. Just move my car." Like, she was acting so strange. She would not let her daughter take her car whatsoever, which was very weird because she would take her car on occasions and Gail never minded before. So why all of a sudden was she acting so suspicious and so like nervous and anxious about her daughter taking the car? Her daughter at this point is an adult grown woman. So, and she kept making up all these excuses like, "Oh, I don't have gas," "Oh, something's wrong with the tire," just making up a bunch of different excuses for the reason why her daughter could not take her car, which was very suspicious to her. Her daughter also reported that even just a simple phone call would make Gail like jump and very, very anxious. Now, Gail worked at the local Walmart store. At around 10:30 p.m., Gail ended her work shift at the local Walmart and headed home. According to her husband, Doug, he heard her pull into the driveway a little bit after 10 p.m. So it was probably like 10:20, 10:30. And he heard like some crazy commotion outside. He went outside and he claims that he saw a gunman standing next to his wife's car in the driveway. He then contacted the police. Now, he reported to the police initially that it was a robbery. I think he just didn't know what other reason why a gunman would be at his wife's car in the middle of the night in the driveway. When police arrived, they found that Gail Isleb had been shot multiple times in the head and was pronounced dead on the spot. Investigators found 7.22 caliber shell casings scattered around Gail's car. Investigators found that the several wounds were close contact wounds, which meant that the perpetrator was standing pretty much right up, like the gun was against her head, if that makes any sense. And police noticed that Doug Gail's husband was actually holding a .22 caliber revolver, the same type of weapon used in Gail's murder. I mean, you can only imagine what they were thinking when they showed up to the crime scene and Doug is holding the same weapon that murdered his wife. Yeah, not a good sign. Usually when something like this happens, as we know, the significant other is usually the main suspect, or like the #1 person that police try to rule out before looking at any other suspects. So naturally, it just seemed right that they would start to look at Doug, especially since he was holding the gun. When questioned by police, Doug claimed that he grabbed his gun after calling 911 for protection. Whoa, Jesus Christ, that is insanity. Ugh, I look like Lunette the Clown. Right now it looks like Lunette the Clown, but by the time I'm finished with this look, it will look like a sugar plum fairy winter-esque vibes. I promise you. Police asked Doug to describe the man he saw in his driveway that shot his wife. He claimed that he thought that the person he saw in his driveway that shot his wife was a Hispanic male, very light-skinned. Now, this contradicted his 911 call that he made to police, that the person was actually wearing a mask. So if the perpetrator was wearing a mask, how did Doug see his face? How could he have seen that he was a Hispanic male, or what color his skin tone was? He also stated that he thought it was a robbery, but Gail's purse and jewelry was still in her car. Yeah, Doug, you need to get your shit together. Two of the neighbors corroborated Doug's story. They said that they did hear gunshots and they also heard a car driving off. Another witness reported seeing a white car leaving the scene, but yeah, nothing else really. And they all agreed on one thing, that they thought that Gail had no known enemies, according to them. They all agreed that Gail was very loved. At this point, police was kind of running out of ideas and suspects. They had none, and they were thinking, you know, possibly this could have been an act of road rage. Maybe she ran into it with someone while driving home from work, and they followed her home, and in their heat of rage and anger, they shot her 7 times in the head. But like, to me, that would equal something personal, just because it was so close range and the amount of shots fired. I would kind of conclude, now I'm no investigator, but I would conclude that that was a personal attack, because no one's gonna shoot someone in the head 7 times, that's a lot, at close range from road rage. Unless you live in California, then you might. But that is a personal attack. That to me shows that this person had a relationship with the victim. But like I said, I'm no detective, so we'll leave that work to them. I love speculating, even though I don't know shit about what I'm talking about. I just like to speculate. So investigators went to her job at Walmart and started to interview her coworkers. Police were so lost with this that they even themselves, I believe, called it a crackerjack investigation, because they did not know where to start. They did not know what was going to come out of the box. They pretty much went to her job at Walmart at 6 a.m. in the morning and started interviewing all of her coworkers, just going through them one by one, trying to find out if she had any known enemies, if they knew anything else that her family and her friends didn't know, anything, if they saw anything, heard anything, if she maybe confided in them at some point. And yeah, now it's time to go into the palette. I'm so excited. We got some really pretty Christmassy shades. Now, Gail worked in the shoe department in Walmart, and some of her coworkers say that she did confide in them and tell them that another coworker was obsessed with her and was really bothering her. And she kind of described a stalker-like situation. So according to her coworkers, her other coworkers, this coworker in specific was infatuated. This person in specific was infatuated with Gail, and they would always find him like talking to her and following her around the store while they're supposed to be working. Well, wow, that brush didn't do anything. Okay. Police found that the employee was 25-year-old Tyrone Montgomery. The fact that he was half of Gail's age did not stop him whatsoever. He was so infatuated with her that he would come on his days off and hang around the shoe department and just chat with her and follow her around the store all day. I mean, dang, Gail, what you got? What you got to make that man come into Walmart on his day off and follow you around in the store? She's got a hidden secret. I'd like to know what it is. Police got a search warrant, but when they entered Montgomery's home, he wasn't there. However, they did notice a white car similar to the one that the neighbor had reported seeing driving off that night. The vehicle was registered to Montgomery's stepfather. Inside of the car, police found in the cigarette compartment, they found pieces of a burnt note. They also found several pages of notes that were not harmed at all. They were intact completely. There were all types of love notes. The notes had some pretty bizarre stuff on it. It said dogs. It also said bring mace and duct tape. Just the usual items a murderer, obsessed, fucking psychopath stalker picks up from the drugstore on his way home. It also said come up with an excuse and returning her cake dish, wipe down all weapons, get ice pick from grocery store. It said get him subdued and stick ice pick through his ear. So police thought that it obviously looked like a criminal checklist, but they were confused as to why it mentioned getting an ice pick to put through a man. Why didn't it say she instead of he? And so police started to theorize that maybe it was possible that the intended target was Gail's husband. So they sent the letters along with Tyrone's handwriting to a forensic document analyst. Didn't even know they had those. It's the guys who compare handwriting to see if it matches or not. I think that's what they do. They got samples of Tyrone's known handwriting from his employment application at Walmart. Good old Walmart coming through. Forensic analysts concluded that Tyrone did in fact write the letter, but investigators had another problem. They were unable to locate Tyrone. But upon their investigation, they found that Tyrone had checked himself into a mental hospital just shortly after Gail's murder. According to one of the other patients in the psychiatric ward, they say that he told them that a really good friend of him had died and he was having a difficult time, so he needed to check himself in. But police was wondering if that was true or if it was just all like him playing games and trying to avoid speaking to the police. I think it was a little bit of both, probably, seeing how he was pretty obsessed with her and in love with her, and if his intentions was to go to her house to kill her husband so that he could be with her, and he accidentally ended up killing her, or he had no choice, he had to kill her, then I think he would be pretty distraught. While interviewing Gail's co-workers, police found that Tyrone had asked Gail out on a date several different times, and Gail turned him down every single time. They also said that Tyrone was just one of those really weird kind of off characters that they didn't think that he was harmful, or that they didn't believe he was harmful. He hadn't done anything before in the past. So according to co-workers, after Gail denied him, he asked her for a ride home, or she asked him for a ride home. I think he asked her for a ride home, and at the end of the ride, he pulled out a BB gun and pointed it at her and said, "See how easy it would be for me to hijack you?" It's time to go. That's extremely bizarre. To say the least, he was exhibiting some very, very odd behavior. I would say it was very bizarre. Now keep in mind, he was 25 and Gail was 54. So that's more than half his age, but he had to have her. So Gail never filed a report, but there were many instances where something strange like this occurred between her and Tyrone, and she probably just thought like, oh, he's a young kid that's obsessed, but he's not gonna do anything to me. One coworker also reported seeing Tyrone put his arm around Gail's back, and she pushed his arm off of her, but he kept going for it. He kept trying to make moves. I guess he just thought something was going to happen between them. He obviously was a deranged character. Gail's children felt that Gail just tried to keep quiet and deal with the situation on her own. That was the type of person that she was. So shortly after committing himself to the psychiatric hospital, Tyrone granted police an interview with him. So when police questioned Tyrone about whether or not he killed Gail, he was very, very calm. They say that his demeanor was impeccably calm, and he just said that he hadn't done anything to her. So they didn't get any type of confession out of him. Tyrone then ended the interview very, very abruptly. So police decided to ask the hospital staff if they could have Tyrone's clothing, the clothing that he was institutionalized in. But to the police's frustration, they found that the hospital staff had actually laundered the clothes before they handed it over to the police department, and they didn't do it on purpose. It was an accident. This was just part of their procedure, and they didn't think about it. But then police found one item from Tyrone that the hospital hadn't touched or washed yet: a pair of boots. So they sent the pair of boots to a forensic crime lab. The forensic analyst found a glass fragment piece in the sole of the boot. So police was linking things together. They knew that there was a lot of glass around the vehicle at the crime scene area. There was just one little problem. There's pretty much glass on every city street and corner, so he could have picked up that glass on his boots from anywhere. There could be automobile glass found on any corner of a city street. How would they know that that piece of glass that they found in his shoe came from Gail's car? Well, the forensic analyst measured the indents in the fragmented piece of glass. If you place a straw into a glass of water, you will notice that towards the top of the glass that the straw looks a little bit bent. And that is not because the straw is actually bent, but it's because the speed of light in water is a lot different from the speed of light in air. Therefore, our eyes will perceive that the glass rod is bent. The extent to which the light changes is known as the refractive index. The forensic pathologist smashed both the glass from Tyrone's boot as well as the glass from Gail's car. Then she set the samples onto microscopic slides and added silicone oil. She then heated them. When the oil reaches the same reflective index as the glass, the shards disappear. This proved that the refractive index of the glass in Gail's car and on the bottom of Tyrone's boot were, in fact, a match. So they found that the evidence was consistent, but it wasn't like an exact match. So it wasn't conclusive. It could have been from another car. Well, I wanted to look like a sugar plum fairy, and that's what we did. So now police finally had a suspect, but they needed something solid to link Tyrone to Gail's murder. So police got a search warrant and they went to Tyrone's home and they searched it up and down looking for that .22 caliber pistol, but they didn't find it. But what police did find was kind of peculiar. They found some really peculiar books, some on being a hitman, books on how to commit a murder. Yeah, I'd say that's a little bit strange there, pal. I mean, do libraries even carry these books? Because I can just imagine him checking like these books out at the library and the librarian just like, what are you planning to do with that? After investigating, after reading some of these books, police found a lot of things that were parallel to what Tyrone had actually written down in his notes about like duct tape and all that shenanigans. So they actually found things that were quite similar to the way that Tyrone wrote the letter. He also owned another book called Methods of Disguise. That could be why Doug, in the beginning when he called 911, gave some conflicting information when he said that the person in the driveway was wearing a mask. That could be the reasoning behind that. In his basement, they found 7 .22 caliber pistol bullets in his wall and the gun rounds laying scattered on the floor. The bullets they recovered from the wall was way too damaged for police to compare to the bullets that they found in Gail's car at the crime scene. But they were able to use the casings on the floor and compare those to the casings found near Gail's car. So they brought in a firearms expert, and under a microscopic lens, he measured the indents of each casing. So he compared the markings on the shells from the crime scene to the markings on the shells in Tyrone's home. This told ballistic experts that the gun fired in Tyrone's home was the same gun fired to kill Gail. Prosecutors believe that Tyrone had been stalking and been obsessed with Gail for quite some time. He had confessed his feelings and asked Gail to go out with him on several different occasions, and after being turned down on several different occasions, he had decided that he would then take out Gail's husband. The evidence showed that he had planned to murder Gail's husband with an ice pick, but at some point during that time, Gail arrived home and caught Tyrone, and they got into an altercation, and then Tyrone had no choice but to shoot Gail. They believe that he was only trying to kidnap Gail, that he didn't have a real intention to harm her, to murder her. That preconceived intention was for her husband. Police wanted to find out how Montgomery got the gun. So they asked the manager at the Walmart that Montgomery and Gail worked at. He confirmed that Tyrone did in fact purchase the same type of gun at the Walmart gun center, which, why does Walmart have a gun center? And he told the manager at the time that he was purchasing it for hunting. The funny thing about this is that when the Walmart manager found out about Gail's murder and that it was murdered with a .22 caliber rifle, he panicked, changed the gun log so that it didn't seem like he sold the .22 caliber rifle to Tyrone. That's just so crazy to me. Like, why would you just be like, oh my god, I did sell him the gun? Like, what? Unless that Walmart manager was involved somehow in covering up the murder or involved in the planned murder. I don't see why he would try to cover up the fact that he did sell him the rifle. Maybe he knew a little bit more than he was saying, and that's the reason why he tried to cover it up. I don't know. I think that's odd. Just wanted to put that in there. Good thing that he came forward, because if he hadn't, that means that Tyrone would have had a gun that was completely untraceable. Police used the information from the log to get the serial number, and they tracked the weapon and found it with a local man who said he purchased it secondhand. Ballistic test and forensic scientists proved that this was in fact the murder weapon. Thanks to forensic scientists and some good police work, in October of 1997, Tyrone Montgomery was convicted of felony murder and sentenced to 65 years in prison. So what did you guys think about this case and my makeup look? Please let me know in the comments down below. If you like videos like these, then check out my last episode. I will leave a link on the screen right here. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you don't want to miss out on any of my future episodes. And I'll see you guys next Friday with another Forensic Friday episode. Bye.